once again. Right, so this morning we continue with our study on one of the most important suttas in Buddhism, the Satipatthana Sutta, dealing with meditation. The sutta starts on page 126. Satipatthana Sutta M10, we are studying M10. There is a longer version, the Digha. So this one is more for meditation. The Digha version is it's like an advertisement to show what Buddhism has to offer, basically. But if you really want to practice meditation, you will look at M10. M is Majjhima Nikaya. Okay? Now, the translation starts on this page, but you'll find the introduction. All the two suttas are in this book, by the way. So it always helps to have a quick look at the cover once it's the first time you're having the book. So if you look at the cover, you'll see page 1, then brackets 1, introduction to the Satipatthana Suttas. Well, if you like, you can just go through the introduction on your own. You'll find there is the history behind the suttas, whom did the Buddha teach, why the Buddha taught it, what are the key words, right? So this introduction will tell you a lot of extra things. Now remember, when you study sutta, don't worry about the difficult parts. Okay? You find some things that you can remember that you like, not those parts. The difficult parts, just leave them alone. You will come back to them. Because Buddhism is not like a newspaper, you read and then throw away. Buddhism is something you practice your whole life. Right? So we have our whole life to get used to the teachings. Because the purpose of studying Buddhism is to be happy, is to grow, and finally to be awakened, to be free from suffering. So we can take our time. So don't give up just because you find, when this teaching very difficult, then all our life, everything will be difficult. Whatever words we like to say, those words will stick on us, so we don't want that to happen. And then page 100, so you can imagine that there are about 99 pages, introductions, quite a lot of things there. It's a very important sutta, because everything is explained in some detail. And then there is the translation of the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, and then the page 126, M10 itself. M10 or Satipatthana Sutta, Majjhima Sutta 10 is much more up to date. So if you are reading the D22, that is Mahasatipatthana Sutta, anything you're not sure, you would go back to M10. And there's some controversy about the history of some of the suttas. So Ajahn Sujato thought that you can actually even work out an older version of the sutta. Older is shorter, older is simpler. The early meditation suttas are very short and simple. And then slowly, over 45 years after the Buddha's time, and then up to even recent times, even at the time when I was born, Vipassana also was born around the same time. So Vipassana has become very famous today. It's got a life of its own, it seems. And then even today, you have new kinds of meditation today. They're called commercialized meditation. Right? So a lot of people are using meditation today. But always remember, we have got the real thing, the traditional teachings the Buddha gave us. In a sense, it started from there. So never get too distracted by the glittering lights of this commercial meditation. They sound very successful, very big, but they're very expensive. And they give you just a little bit, whereas in the Buddhist meditation, you get everything if you are patient enough. And then chapter 5, there is an article by a German monk scholar. He's also a meditator, practicing breath meditation. And then one more article by Ajahn Sujato, practicing Satipatthana. And there's a long bibliography in case you are interested in looking at all the books. Well, I can't say all the books, or even some of the books are related to Satipatthana and meditation. So you have a kind of a handbook here. well, since I'm talking about meditation, I might as well advertise right away. What we have done is we have compiled all these meditation teachings into this book. This is a fundraiser for our center, so we are welcoming any donations of $20 per book. So that's all to do with the 4 kinds of samadhi, stages of spiritual liberation, nimitta, and then this controversy about jhana, whether thinking goes on in jhana or not. And then when a layman in jhanas, do you need to attain jhana to awaken, things like that. So this is the first of a series of meditation volumes by topic. So this is, if you like, you can have a look at this afterwards. Okay, so this is our, I think, 3rd study, right? 4th study, okay. So we're going to finish up with the body meditation today. Now before we go on to that, let me just fill in for those who have just come in. Satipatthana means focus of mindfulness, basis of mindfulness, foundation for mindfulness, if you like. In simple terms, how do you do proper meditation according to the Buddha's teaching? You see, the one thing very interesting about Buddhism, we always ask basic questions first. When we meditate, where do we start? We start with the body, because we have a body, right? So you got to sit down, and you got to sit down comfortably. So obviously we start with body-based meditation first. You got to calm your body down, okay? And then there are, you can see on the board there's, I think, six different aspects of, or 6 practices connected with the body. All these 6 practices that you can see listed there, breath meditation is the most common, most effective, because the Buddha himself used it. He was only, according to one important story, he was only 7 years old when he did it. He attained first jhana. That means meditation is safe. Even a 7-year-old child can do it. So people ask you how safe is meditation. You say, very safe. The Buddha was 7 years old when he first did it. And then later, when he was like 28 years old, over 20 years later, again he remembered that event and he used the breath meditation again. Okay? And then you have the 4 postures. These are the 4 possible postures of the human body: sitting, walking, sitting, standing, lying down, right? And then full awareness, all our actions, all the actions in between the postures. We are mindful of them. So in other words, meditation, anything can be an object. Anything that goes on in your body, especially. Yeah? Then perception of foulness. This is what we did the last lesson, watching the body parts. Yeah? And then the 4 elements, which today we're going to the number 4, 5, 6. Yeah? 4 elements. I'll talk in detail afterwards. And then the 9 stages of decomposition. In the book, it is called the channel ground meditation. All this I'll talk to you in details afterwards. So we start off meditating, watching the body, to calm the body down. Body means the 5 physical senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. Why do we calm the body first? Because the body is like 5 doors. You've got to close the 5 doors to prevent distractions, if you like. Or better still, they're like 5 phones. You're like a stockbroker, and you've got this 5 phones ringing all the time. And it's time to close, time to go back for a nice long holiday. You switch them all the 5 phones. You want to focus on the mind. Okay? But once you switch out the 5 phones, you shut down the 5 doors of senses, you will still notice there are feelings, right? Because as you sit too long, you find your legs begin to feel numb or painful and so on. So the second meditation is called feeling-based meditation. You can see on the bottom my left, which we'll do next lesson. There's a lot of teachings on feelings. Feelings is another big area of Buddhist psychology and Buddhist meditation. And then when you are quite happy with the feelings, you notice there are thoughts going on. Because our vehicle of understanding, the way we understand what's going on in our minds and in our meditation is through thinking. We know things through thinking. The word know means, in this case, meditation-wise, is your response to the activity of your senses. You notice the working of the senses. Knowledge arises from the experience of the five senses. If you add the mind, 6 senses. So you watch the thoughts, watch the mind. Okay, we'll talk about this the following week. And then the last one is reality-based meditation, Dhamma Nupassana. The first is called Kaya Nupassana, body-based meditation. Second one is called Vedana Nupassana. And the third one is Chitta Nupassana. And then last one, Dhamma Nupassana. The word Dhamma has got many meanings. It's the broadest word in Pali, maybe in any language. It is equivalent to the English word thing. The word thing can translate in many ways. But in this sutta, Dhamma translated as realities with the plural. In other words, you begin to discover different kinds of realities as you meditate. For example, the Four Noble Truths, and so on. All right? So that will be the last topic we deal with in this series of studies on the Satipatthana Sutta. So now we are on page 129. So if you have a quick look in the other headings, you find on the opposite page you have at the top is the breath meditation, and then the big number 2 at the bottom, the 4 postures, and then next page 129, the full awareness, and then you come to perception of foulness. So that's the sequence, just have a quick note of that. In the sutta, of course, you don't have all these headings. In the translation here, I put this heading, so it's easy for us because we are a reading tradition nowadays. So it's easy when you see the headings. You have a good idea, a good grasp, we say, of the teaching. Now, in fact, you can also choose any of these meditation as and when necessary to do them. But today's meditation, perception of foulness, also another name for it is the 31 parts of the body, or sometimes called the 32 parts of the body. We'll find out why there are 2 numbers in a while. Now, first of all, at the start, I have to tell you, you are not recommended to do this meditation on your own. Sometimes you get people who collect very gruesome pictures of dead bodies, for meditation. You can actually find them online, by the way. And I have a set of these pictures. To be frank with you, I do not look at them. I just quickly look at them, file them somewhere in case somebody really wants to see one day, or somebody comes to me and says, "You got a lot of defilements in the past." Yeah, maybe you need to look at that. You must be ready for this sort of things, I mean, for example, you see these stories about, these young doctors, they're very confident. They say, "Oh, I'm not afraid of blood, I'm not afraid of dead bodies." And when they come to see the first cadaver, they faint within minutes. So you got to be very, very well prepared before you do this kind of meditation. Well prepared is what? You must have a qualified, experienced meditation teacher. Number 2, you get your instructions first, and you must know the other meditations well enough first, especially breath and loving kindness. You must be good in breath and loving kindness before you do other kinds of meditation. Why? Because breath is the basic thing in meditation. Okay? I'm talking over-the-counter teaching. And of course, there are cases where some people might be past life, they've done all this meditation before. So in this life, maybe they became interested in meditation, maybe through the 4 elements meditation, for example. It's possible. But the general rule is, if you want to teach, you teach breath first or loving kindness first, either one. Breath calms yourself, centers you. So whenever you have difficulty, you know how to calm yourself. You breathe easy. You notice that people who do first aid or people, psychologists, psychotherapists, they tell you, relax, just breathe easy, right? So our breath is a very good indicator of our mental state. It also helps us to calm down. So use that for meditation. In a sense, you can say to meditate is to learn to breathe. And then your loving kindness. Why these two? Breath is a centering exercise. It brings peace towards you, inside you. You want to share this peace with others also. Because if you do breath only, you might end up as a hermit. You might say, oh, people are so noisy, and I don't want to have anything to do with them. Of course, you want to be a loner, you're not married, that's fine, but you have a family, you have a problem. You start saying Buddhism causes family problems. You want that to be the case. In fact, there are lots of stories, or you yourself might know this. If you go for long retreats, say in the mountains, and after that retreat's over, you come down here, as you reach the towns and cities, you reach back home, you find it's like a crazy world out there. People are talking loudly, running here, running there, and you just can't fit in, And there's also a report, some people, they do very serious vipassana meditation or some kind of meditation that focuses only on breath, no loving kindness. They stop thinking. This is a bit of controversy here. They seem to stop thinking. It's very important to understand the role of thinking in meditation. Actually, this is in the third Satipatthana, but it's important, so I'll just say something about this. Thinking goes on in our daily life. Thinking doesn't occur on two occasions at least. First occasion is when you are sleeping. The other occasion is when you are really meditating. You are having a good meditation, your thinking stops. Now, we are not saying that thinking is good or bad. We're just saying thinking is part of our life. That's how we process knowledge, how we learn and communicate and so on. But there are times when we would like to give thinking a rest. Our thinking is sense-based, based on the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and of course the mind. So these five senses need to be rested so that thinking based on these five senses need not be processed. And if you do well in your meditation, this happens naturally when you're sitting down and you're feeling very happy, or even when you're very happy, even outside of meditation, you will notice there's no thinking going on, no thoughts. That is really true joy. Okay? And then slowly you come back to the real world, and if you do your meditation well, your thinking process becomes clearer. That should be the case. It should not stop. I don't think it's possible to stop thinking. It's just that you are not so mindful, that's all. So there are stories where people who do this meditation, then they go retreat, they inverted commas stop thinking. Actually, we say in Singapore they are a bit blunt. In other words, still have not got back to the normal process of thinking, not so mindful. So some of them, they say that when they're driving, they even forget where the brakes are, something like that, So that's not mindful, right? So in other words, you've got to spend some time coming out of the retreat, just relax, move around nature, around the area wherever you're meditating. You notice in our meditations, once it's finished, there is a review, short little couple of minutes of review. You can do longer if you like. And then after that we say, okay, the meditation has ended, sit quietly, let the stillness settle in. So all these processes is to bring us back into the real world, in the manner of speaking. Then you can function again as a so-called normal person, but your mind is clearer. Your thinking comes back, but clearer, working better, in other words. So the thinking doesn't stop. It's not possible for thinking to stop unless you are totally awakened. That's another idea altogether. So, loving kindness is very important. You must practice, you must understand loving kindness is one of the easiest meditation to do. And surprisingly, some people cannot do it. So, these two meditations are very good measures for mental health. If someone cannot do loving kindness, obviously this person has a serious emotional problem. And if you're a counselor, you will at once know what to ask. this kind of person. So you don't have to ask embarrassing questions. You just teach them the two meditation, you observe their response, you more or less know what kind of problems they're having, and you build up your connection with them that way. So this is called meditation therapy. It's another area, very interesting area of practical Buddhism, where we combine meditation plus Buddhist teachings plus modern psychology. One thing I must tell you, although Buddhist psychology is ancient, it's becoming more modern than so-called modern psychology. Modern psychology based on Freud and Jung and Adler and so on, they're becoming a little dated now. So many new meditation methods. Almost every psychologist is inventing their own method to put their name on it. But finally, they all got to go back to the Buddha. All these psychologists are pirating the Buddha's teaching in the name of scholarship and academia, making lots of money from it, but they don't allow us to pirate their books. So you can see this irony going on. But it's okay, that's the way the world functions, so we will go with the world. Okay. The important thing is, meditation is there, waiting for us as Buddhists to practice our own legacy. So this is where we come to part 4, yeah? Watching the different parts of the body. Now we go through this, then I will comment further in a while. Page 129, section. Yes? We've done founders? Oh, okay.
I think we did 4 elements too, right?
We did 4 elements too? All right.
I think we've also done 4 elements. 4 elements, not in detail.
Okay.
4 elements are in detail.
I'll go into details this morning. Blame my sticker, put it in the wrong place. Okay. 4 elements. Okay. But before that, let me just go back on the 31 parts, because it's very intimately connected with the 9 Chana grounds meditation. Okay. So these parts of the body is a very useful meditation. It's not that problematic as number 6, the 9 Chana grounds. 9 Chana grounds, you should not do it by yourself. Maybe you're a medical student, okay, medical student, because you have to be familiar with the cadavers and corpses, so you should come naturally to the doctors. And the irony is, most doctors would not need this kind of meditation because they're already aware of these corpses, So, but anyway, that's the principle. You see, if you look at go back to number 4, it's called the perception of foulness, asubha sanya. Okay, this is the term used in the suttas. But in the commentaries, when they say asubha, impurities, they refer to the 9 Chana grounds meditation, the stages of decomposition of the body. 9 stages, how the body rot or decay. So this is a little confusing for beginners, but there are important things to know here. That's why we have studies. Number 1, the terms used in the commentaries and the terms used in the suttas are not always the same. But the keywords are there, you don't have to worry. The final points, usually they have a reason why they appear to be a little confused. Actually, the confusion is just lack of understanding and deep study, that's all. For example, asubha. Right? Both the 31 parts of the body and the 9 Chana grounds meditation, they are actually the same practice. Because when you meditate on this kind of situation, they are both foul, impure, rotting. The difference is this. In the first case, you watch the living body. In the second case, you watch a dead body. That's the main difference. So you look at this body, telling yourself, this body I'm looking at is just like this body which is dead. Let's say you go and visit a friend who just passed away, you can see the body there, or there's a glass in the coffin you can see. So you reflect. So wonderful time to reflect. You say, just as this body is, so will it be like that? As this is, so was that. Okay? As that is, so will this be. Okay? So in other words, you have a reality check. A reality check. We need reality checks, you know. You know why we have happy hours in the bar getting drunk? That's opposite of reality check. We don't want to check on reality. We just get tired of reality because we don't know how to do it. But Buddhism gives you all these methods. So this is a reflection, reminding us not to be depressed, but rather to tell us, what are we doing with our lives? What are our priorities? Okay, who are the people important in my life, right? So, in other words, our life becomes more, the quality is greater. We do more important things, more meaningful things. We don't wait until it's too late. Less regrets. Okay, so this reflection on impermanence, which is a gentler form of reflection on death, and all this reflection, including these two, on the 21 paths and the 9 stages, they remind us of the value of life. That is why they're important in that sense. Eh? So, again, when you look at a dead body, you will notice there are all these 31 parts. Right? You will notice maybe the parts are rotting away, falling apart, and so you reflect on them. So, that's how they're connected. Eh? In a sense, you can say the 31 parts are easier because they are on us, you know. So, actually, it's not that difficult to do the 31 parts. You just do with the first one, that's enough. The first one is head, hairs, body hair, nail, teeth, skin. You start with that. And you reflect, this is all that I am. So what is that to be so attached to this body? What's that so beautiful about this body? These are all impermanent. This head, hair, body hair, nail, teeth, skin are earth element. Earth element. So notice you also combine the earth element to this meditation. This is the earth element. And then after that you have your choice. You see, this is where there are many variations to meditation. There's no one right method, okay? You can combine. So, okay, this head, hair, body hair, nail, teeth, skin, these are earth element. You locate those things, you know them as earth element. These are internal earth element. So that's the next thing you reflect. These are internal earth element. We don't say my earth element, we say internal earth element. Ajatta. Okay, ajatta. Of course, it can mean self. It means inside me. Internal earth element. And there is external earth element. Internal earth element, external earth element. They are the same element. So this is a process of identifying it. You can reflect on this while you're taking your food. You know, you take solid food, say rice. Rice is earth element, right? You take a spoonful of rice, you put in your mouth, you chew it. So you have a choice. You can say, okay, this is earth element. And then there is soup, water element. And then the soup is warm, fire element, right? And then you blow it cold, wind element. So all these elements are involved, even as you're eating. So so when you chew the food, saliva from your mouth is mixing with the food, and then it goes into your body, and then it goes to your stomach, and then it gets absorbed. At which point does it become you? At which point does it become me? It's hard to say, right? It doesn't matter. The point is, the earth element becomes me, and then I go to the toilet, I give back the earth element. So I go back and forth. So we are a cycle. So that's how we reflect. Internal earth element, external earth element, they are both the same earth element. And then comes the most important part. The earth element is impermanent. What is impermanent is unsatisfactory or suffering. What is impermanent and suffering have no self. Or you can just choose one of these. You can say impermanent, or you can say have no self. Okay? In the Anatta Sutta, no self or non-self is used because the audience, they're very advanced. And they became arhats after listening to those teachings. Now we are still new, so we can use the first of the 3 characteristics. Impermanence is much easier. Okay, so this is again your choice. Yeah? So there you are, you have an example how you can combine the different meditation and make your meditation interesting and natural. Remember, there is no one fixed meditation you must do, you know. You make it natural. So the more methods you know and the more you apply them, the more versatile you are, the more calm you can be. And you find that you don't need to make an effort already. At first you need an effort as a beginner, then slowly you find it becomes spontaneous. Instead of negative thoughts, all these positive thoughts come to you. And one benefit is you become more creative, you know. You begin to see joy in all these things. Joy in the sense that you say, oh, I'm so happy, I know all these things. Now these things, this impermanence doesn't cause me pain and suffering. I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of pain, and understand their nature. Okay? Doesn't mean you don't feel pain, you do feel pain. Pain is still painful, but you understand the context of pain and you're able to deal with them, in other words. So this is a very important benefit of meditation. Any questions at this point? Okay, so the four elements are what we are composed of, what the body is composed of, right? Sometimes we speak of the five elements. Normally, if we say five elements, the fifth element is space. Space. And this is the meditation taught to Rahula by the Buddha in the Maha Rahulovada Sutta. Sometimes six consciousnesses are mentioned. The six consciousnesses, the six is consciousness. The six elements, the six is consciousness, right? The six elements is another way of looking at the body-mind dichotomy. The body made out of four elements, and the mind is number six. The fifth element is the space, which contains all this. So the first thing you do in the study of the four elements is to understand their nature. Of course, Abhidhamma goes into great detail, but don't get lost in Abhidhamma. Too much details, then you find you can't meditate, you start thinking and so many lists and so on. So learn just enough to understand. Actually, it's very easy to understand. You don't need to go into so much detail. Earth element refers to solidity, hardness, resistance. Solidity, hardness, resistance. You can also include roughness, softness. Okay? So when you meditate, you can notice this, for example, on your cushion when you're sitting. Right? You can feel your body weight pressing down. The cushion is hard. You don't say the cushion is hard, you say earth element. Right? I mean, there's nothing wrong in saying the cushion feels hard, but you must note it as earth element. And you feel your arms pressing against your side here, maybe, the hardness, the resistance, earth element. You feel your feet placed together, you feel your legs pressing on the ground, hardness of the ground, earth element. And then when you're walking, you are standing and maybe you can feel the ground a bit uneven, a bit rough, earth element. Okay? Instead of saying rough, because rough can be a bit of evaluating, and you start thinking, why can't they have a nice, soft, a nice, smooth ground? You start thinking, so you say earth element, earth element. Some meditation teachers identify certain parts of the body. For example, you can start by using your tongue and pressing against the back of your upper row of teeth, so you can feel the teeth, hardness of the teeth. Touch the back of the upper row of teeth. Then you reflect as earth element, earth element. And then you go on reflecting, like just now, internal earth element, external earth element, both are the same, they're impermanent. And then water element. Water element is stickiness, cohesiveness, right? Saliva, right? You can feel the saliva in your mouth. Water element. Of course, when you're sweating, let's say meditating is a warm day, sweating, water element. When you go to the toilet, you urinate, water element. So our whole body, most of it is water element. Internal water element, external water element. They are the same water element, they are all impermanent. Water here is not just H2O. Now, this is where modern learning can confuse you or slow you down your meditation. Don't think in terms of H2O. It's just an ancient code for liquid, right? Now, sometimes it's very interesting. Sometimes too much learning can hinder our meditation. It's not that learning is bad, I'm just saying it can hinder our meditation. So you must know when to set it aside. Yesterday we had a very interesting meditation session. We had some very educated people there. So they were meditating and said, I almost got it, and they were kind of conceptualizing this feeling what breath should be. I say, if you stop conceptualizing, you stop putting all the learning you have done, you will get it, I say. So in other words, they were trying to define what is this breath, it must be like this, like that. They were thinking about it, right? So in meditation, we just forget about it. We just forget about all these learning things. So the learning is theory, you see. We want to feel the breath as it is. The breath is movement, right? The breath is stillness. Notice all that. So, feeling means observe, direct observation, direct experience in meditation lingo. So this is where we have to remember not to always use the same language. Doesn't mean feeling has no one single meaning. For example, very often, if someone says you have no feeling, depends who's saying it. If it's a music master, no feeling, that means you're not, you're trying too hard when you play the music, right? So what they mean is actually emotion, right? There's no person without feeling except a dead person. So if you're alive, you always have some feeling, okay? So this is where feeling means direct experience. We let go the medium of thought. At first you need to use thought, but as you go deeper into your meditation, you find you let go of thinking. It's a natural process. When you are very joyful next time, you will notice thinking is not there. That is why you are very happy. And the same process happens in breath meditation. At first you got to try. Why? Because the thinking is there. You got to see where's the breath, how does it feel, and then all these thoughts are coming in. You got to process so many things. So it's very tiresome. And then slowly you find, I don't have to think about all these things. They're not important anymore, except this breath in front of me, in front in your mind, of course. And then slowly you watch the breath. You find, you can notice the breath, a nimitta. Once you can notice it, it's called a nimitta. Okay? And as you notice it, after a while you find you don't need any more effort. It's so, and once you don't need to make any more effort, that means no more thought intervene. You experience the breath directly, and that is joyful. So joy, in this case, is the absence of thinking. You experience directly. It's like you have reached the goal of your journey. No more traveling and trouble needed. Okay? Any questions? So, and then fire element. Fire element, you can feel the warmth of your body. You can touch, or even if you feel cold also regarded as fire element, temperature. You can feel the heat in your armpits, fire element. You can see the warmth on your seat. When you cross your legs, you can feel a bit of warmth there. Fire element. That's internal fire element. Then you've got external fire element. Both are the same, permanent. What is interesting about the fire element is it is actually burning. Burning, fire. Modern word is oxidation, oxygen. Right? You breathe in, oxygen burns up. Then you can translate it, you can regard fire element as decay. Decay. decay going on in your body. Because when the fire element works, what is it doing? It's burning food for you. It is making energy for you. But at the same time, your physical body is decaying. From the moment we are born, we start to decay. And this decay is endless, incessant, unending, until passing away. And then it starts again with rebirth. So decay is an ongoing process. Right? Of course, we give different names to it, but actually it's one process, decay. Right? When the child is young, we say growing up. Then after 50, we say growing old. Actually, it's the same, it's decay. So we reflect on decay, fire element. Internal fire element, external fire element. The same fire element, it is impermanent. This fire element works with fruits and other things. Like fruits, we say ripening. Yeah? It's a decay process, fire element working. So earth, air, water, earth, water, fire, wind or air, last one. So the last one is wind element. Wind element is movement, motion. So in our body, the wind element, of course, the most obvious one is the breath. And then you have this oxygen in our blood. And then you have this peristalsis. Peristalsis is the action of your muscles. You know, when you swallow food, those ring muscles push down the food into your stomach, right? That is a downward peristalsis. And then when your body expels waste materials, it goes down. Okay? So peristalsis is also regarded as wind element, movement. Of course, in the sutras, they also identify winds that go around your body. So these are the pains that sometimes we feel. So this is the basis of traditional medicine anyway, the winds in our body. And then our movement. Okay, so if you are, let's say you are a jogger and you're running, so you can meditate on the movement. So your internal wind element is your movement, and external wind element, the wind which blows on you, the wind that you breathe in, the air that you breathe in, and then it goes into your lungs, then it becomes you, and then you breathe out the air again. Breathe in, breathe out, wind element. Internal wind element, external wind element, they are both the same wind element. They are all impermanent. Now once you reflect in this way, you find a wonderful connection with everything around you. And this is a very important experience, that we are connected with everything around us. We begin to respect nature that way. So you see in the Chinese art, Japanese art, Asian art in general, where Buddhism has influenced them, you find nature is huge, and the human beings are very tiny. Right? We try to be in harmony with nature. Right? So this is a kind of gives us a very peaceful feeling. This is for the earliest awareness of ecology, if you like. Yeah? So today we know how important ecology and respect for the environment is. So these are the four elements. So again, you notice after the elements are listed, then the Satipatthana refrain says, so he dwells observing the body internally. Right? So we watch inside us, those are four elements. And observing the body in the body externally, right? We reflect on the external earth elements. And then number 3, observing the body in the body both internally and externally. That's what I've been telling you, right? You reflect on both. Or he dwells observing states that arise in the body, right? You can see wind element arising, right? You're going to breathe out or breathe in, right? The breath, maybe you feel the breath rising, you're breathing in, and you're breathing out, falling, right? The Burmese like to do this, Vipassana method. Or you can notice both arise and falling, arising and passing away. So this theory gives you an overview of the practice, what you should be doing. Or else he maintains the mindfulness, there is a body, merely for knowing and awareness. So this is just a conventional term, body, but in reality this body is nothing, it's just 4 elements, is very unstable, it's changing all the time. All right, so this line is to prevent us from building any self-identity view. Self-identity view is the first fetter to be broken. You break that, and then two more, the fetter of doubt, the fetter of attachment to rituals and vows, you become a stream winner. Right? So we should not identify with the body, meaning this body is to reflect this body as being impermanent and changing all the time, becoming other. We don't have any real control over it. We try to take care of this body, yes, but this body goes its own way. This body has got shelf life. Okay? He dwells, and the last two lines are the benefit, and he dwells independent, not clinging to anything in the world. Notice, not clinging to anything in the world. In other words, if you understand all this and you say, coming to think of it, I don't need anything to be happy. If I can just sit here peacefully, I'm happy. So to be happy is to be able to sit peacefully. And after that, you can decide what you want to do, whatever comes. Right? You notice if you really care for someone, if you really love someone, you can spend hours talking to this person, anything you can talk about. You just feel happy with the company of this person, like mother and child, parents who love each other, relatives that we care for. You don't need anything. Of course, because you're so happy, we do a lot of things. That's the benefit. But if you're not so close, then what do? You go shopping. You got to buy things. You got to pay money, right? So things become the measure of relationships. So what Buddhism is telling us, you can be very happy just being simple. It's possible. In other words, you're independent of the world out there. You don't depend on the world out there. You're happy just as you are. That's the Arahant. He's totally independent of others. But the streamer also is emotionally independent of others. They don't depend on others, people to praise them, or people to become their disciples. They're happy for themselves, by themselves. So as Buddhists, we should learn to be happy by ourselves, for ourselves. And then from there you begin to connect with others. You don't just stop there. Remember, emotional independence is not emotional alienation, They're different. Emotional alienation means I don't need you, I don't care about you. Emotional independence is different. I'm happy just the way I am. Because I'm happy, I can try to make you happy too. Or maybe you just look at me, you feel happy already. Something like that. You notice sometimes the presence of a person makes you feel good and happy. So we all should be like that. So the moment we go to a certain place, people can feel it. And the back of time they ask you, you're a Buddhist, right? The moment they feel peaceful, they say, you're a Buddhist, right? Then you know, okay, good, we already done our job well, okay? That's what Asaji did. Remember Asaji, one of the first 5 months? He went around very peacefully, collecting alms food. And then Sariputta saw him, not because he was wearing all this fantastic looking gear of a priest. He was dressed very simply in a monk's robes. But what is radiant about him is not the robes, it's his face, his being. Sariputta saw this, said, wow, this monk is so peaceful. Remember the fourth sight, right? The Prince Datta saw the fourth sight, so this is where Sariputta saw his own sight. So he said, wow, this must be the answer I'm looking for. And he became a stream winner by just listening to 2 lines spoken by Asaji. And later he went to the Buddha, became an Arahant. So this just by looking. So that's why the monks, they shave their hair, they wear robes, they're meant to walk very calmly, they got no handphone, no wallet, They're meant to be very peaceful and calm. So when you look at them, you feel that calmness which is 2,600 years old. And you feel so good about it. That's the ideal monk, so to speak. Alright, so those are the 4 elements. Any questions on the 4 elements at this point? And now the 9 Chandra ground meditation. Here again, as I said, the commentaries, they call it the impurities, asubha. Sometimes the suttas, the word Chanagram is used, Sivatika. Now, we read through them and I'll point out to you the 9 stages. You can see the round brackets 1, 2, 3 until 9 anyway. Furthermore, bhikshus are the monks, just as if, please make a note of the just as if, very important, so there's a note there, let's say Yatapi, you can underline that. Whatever book you have, treat it as yours, so make notes there because these are study notes. Just as if he were to see bodily remains or a corpse or cadaver thrown aside in the Chanagram. In other words, you don't have to go to the Chanagram cemetery. You can't find this kind of place in Singapore anymore anyway. So just as if, that means you can use pictures, because nowadays computers, or even an image in your mind. In a Chanagram, okay, this is the first stage of decay. 1, 2, 3 days dead, bloated, livid, meaning discolored, festering or rotting. So too, he compares this very body with that, thinking, such is the nature of this body, it will become that. This is unavoidable. Right? So that's the most important line. Such is the nature of this body. It will become like that. This is unavoidable. So what happens when you say that? Next thing you ask yourself, what am I doing with my life? Right? I should be doing important things, Why bother about quarreling with people, Let me do things that will make me truly happy. So notice here, he compares, so you look and then you relate. In order to see reality, and you see the coming reality in yourself. Okay? Another reflection is the conditional sequence. As this body is, so will this body be. You don't say I, you say this body. That means your body. Just as this body, you can start with a simple and safe one. Just as this body is, so was that body. It is quite safe. In other words, once my friend was alive. But just as that body is, so will this body be. This is the grammar of spirituality, using the past tense, the present tense, and reflecting reality. See, so this is where you say, wow, language is so meaningful. When you hear the word is, was, then this idea of life and death arises to you. So language becomes so meaningful, so beautiful. We call it literature, real literature. Right? You can call it beauty even if you like, because just a couple of words can bring up, can evoke this powerful sense of reality. Isn't that wonderful? You don't need a long lecture for this. So meditation essentializes reality. You directly experience it. The essentials are there. The essence are there. Is there. Yeah? So just spend a moment, look at this, because this is the key phrase you must master, and the rest will kind of repeat themselves with variations on the body. So, you can, when you visit a dead friend, relative has passed away, it's a good chance to reflect on the body. You can do this practice. It's not exactly a Chanagram meditation, but it doesn't matter what name you call it. The practice is there. First level of decomposition, this body 2-3 days old, so you're getting rooted up. And then notice the Satipatthana refrain, same thing. So it dwells observing the body, in the body, internally, externally, and internally and externally, and so on. Okay? You notice here the application is slightly different. Internally is yourself, you say just as this body is, and then externally, so is that body, and so on. So you find this refrain means like a chorus, it reminds you how to practice it. Different variations of the practice. Then number 2, brackets 2, further down, there's a second stage of bodily decomposition. Sometimes you see those crime scene movies, they will tell you, they call it decom, they say decom, there are stages of decom. Here you are, this is a real decomposition. Section 16, brackets 2. Or again, bhikshus, just as he were to see bodily remains of a corpse thrown aside in the charnel ground, being eaten by crows, or being eaten by hawks, or being eaten by vultures, or being eaten by dogs, or being eaten by jackals, or being eaten by various worms and bugs, so too he compares this very body with that, thinking, such is the nature of this body. It will become like that. This is unavoidable. So this is a sort of second stage, because this body is thrown in the open. See, in India, the Buddha's time, they had this kind of place called a charnel ground. Maybe even today, probably in India, they might still have charnel ground, but definitely not in Singapore. I know in Thailand it has been banned. 100 years ago, I think the monastery I lived in, there was a charnel ground there. People would just throw a body in, especially the poor. See, the poor, they can't afford proper funeral, they can't afford a coffin and so on, so they just drag the body up and they leave it on the charnel ground. The Tibetans are even more dramatic, you know. The poor would just employ some undertakers to take the body to some high peak, and then they will find kind of a rock there. And first they'll cut up the body into pieces, and then after that this undertaker will smash the body parts with a rock, so they become small little pieces, so that the birds can eat them. Convenient for the birds to eat them. Because, you know, I mean, how are you going to cremate in Tibet? Wood is very hard to get, and firewood is precious, and the ground is too hard to dig. So this is called sky burial. Maybe a very big name for it, sounds very glorious, very grand. Sky burial. The Zoroastrians, they do something similar. They leave the dead body in the Tower of Silence. Eastern India, they have this, you know. These tall towers, so they'll keep the body at the top, and there are gratings there, you know, like this aircon, about bigger spaces. So they leave the body there. I think these birds will come and start eating up the body, and or as the body decomposes, then the parts, the bones will fall down to the bottom. So this is another traditional way of disposing of the bodies. Right? So we don't have charnel grounds anymore today, so you probably won't see this kind of decomposition unless the dead body is left hidden somewhere. Then number 3, further down, that is, so now everything is becoming compact. You can see 3, 4, 5 all in one row, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look at 18 to 23 first, 18 to 23. Or again, bhikshus, just as if you were to see the bodily remains or bones thrown aside in the charnel ground, a skeleton with flesh and blood connected with tissues. So this is the third stage. Fourth stage, a skeleton, fleshless, without flesh, smeared with blood, connected with tissues. And next one, number 5, is a skeleton, flesh and blood all gone, connected by tissue, sinews. Sinews are the, what do you call that? Tendons or some kind of strong muscles left over. Number 6, random disconnected bones scattered in all directions. A hand bone here, a foot bone there, a shin bone here, a rib there, a thigh bone here, a pelvic bone there, a backbone here, a shoulder bone there, a neck bone here, a jawbone there, a tooth here, a skull there. And so too he compares his very body with that. So, such is the nature of this body. It will become like that. This is unavoidable. This sounds like a folk song, eh? One bone here, one bone there. Bones are everywhere. And so here you see, in Pali, the word is the same. When it says one bone here, one bone here, one bone here, you know. So, but in English, you have to translate here, there. It sounds better. Okay, so there's a problem with translation. We have to decide how to translate it. So here you see the bones are scattered. So you reflect that way. Then number 7, bones bleached, looking like conch shell. Look, the bones are white, like those pirate movies. Okay? You see those bones. Then 8, the bones piled up over a year old. And then at 9, the last stage, bones reduced to dust. Alright? Now, the next question we should ask is, why so many stages, Yeah, of course, you just got a dynamic idea of the stages of decomposition. This was how the Buddha actually, in a sense, converted the lady Malika. I think it's Malika. She was a very beautiful woman, the queen of Bimbisara. Despite being coaxed by the king to visit the monastery to listen to the Buddha's teaching, she won't go. She said, no, I'm not going there, because the Buddha is going to talk about, beauty is impermanent and this and that. I don't want to hear all that. But then the king was very clever, very cunning. He got some bards, some poets, singers, to sing the beauty of Jetavana and the wide wisdom of the Buddha and so on. So the queen became curious. The queen said, okay, I'll just go visit him once. So the queen came to see the Buddha. And the story when the Buddha knew about the queen, so as soon as the queen saw, or rather sees the Buddha, the story went, the Buddha projected this sequence of images, very famous sequence, So, of course, if you can take this as Malika's own spiritual experience. I mean, if any of us here were to see the Buddha, we can be sure we'll be really impressed, and maybe we might shed tears of joy. So, imagine Malika seeing the Buddha first time. What she saw changed her life forever. She saw a woman, beautiful young woman, fanning the Buddha. And then she saw this young woman aging within seconds to become a mature woman. And then an old woman, a very old hag, and then a dead woman, a skeleton, dust. Something like the 9 stages, all in one go. High-speed photography. Today you see David Attenborough with his high-speed, how those rats get eaten up by worms. So you imagine to her, wow, she just suddenly, her life changed. Of course, for David Attenborough, he was smiling and said, look, this is how a rat dies, and he doesn't become a monk, right? But not in the case of Malika, because it's the first time she's seeing it, and her mind is such, and then that changed her life. So here you begin to see different things for different people. Different things change different people in different ways. Right? So here we see this sequence of impermanence having an impact on Queen Malika. So you have 9 stages here. Why? Because these are meant for different kinds of desires and lusts. Right? For example, let's say there are some maybe they attach to bone structure of the body, or teeth even, right? So if they are attached to, if there's a beauty in this, then you look at the skeleton with the bones and teeth intact. So they look and say, wow, that's what becomes of it, Or if you like muscles, then you see the early stage of decomposition. So the body bloating up, what kind of muscle is that? So rotting away. So your attachment, your fixed view, wrong view about muscles and bones will be demystified. You get reality check, in other words. No more fixation. Right? So this is a kind of shock therapy, if you like. Okay? That's why I say it's not easy for you to do this yourself. You need guidance. And the basic rule of thumb is you must follow up with loving kindness at the end of it. Yeah? So there you are. We have finished the whole set of body-based meditation. Right? So all this, you reflect internally, externally, and then both, and then you reflect on impermanence and so on.
Yeah, some years ago, I saw a video clip where in Tibet, I think it was a monk or something, after the monk died, his colleagues carried the body out of the body, but they didn't cut the body up, they just left it there. And there were lots of vultures, and the vultures came and finished the body with the reason, from what I understood, was in your life on this earth, we eat animals, we eat birds, we eat all the living things. So when you die, then you give your body back to them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's one way of rationalizing how we eat.
That was a bad video teaching.
Yeah. Can be quite gruesome for us. Whereas the Tibetans, to them it's quite natural, so they accept all these things. This is one problem with so-called modernization, and urbanization. Everything becomes cosmeticized. Death is not meant to be beautiful. Because if you go to a funeral, everything is so nice, and you forget the reality of death. But if you see a dead body just as it is, that's a reality check. That is why in Thailand, they have this very interesting tradition. When someone dies, close friends and relatives are informed first. You know why? So that they can immediately come to pay their last respects. They can look at the body as it is. This person we love just passed away, before any kind of ritual. In fact, they'll be there for the ritual. So family members are there first to pay their last respect. You really pay last respect to the remains, as it is, not nicely cosmeticized, You're not there for your respect, you're there for yourself, And then they do something very interesting, which I did for my parents, when I was a monk, passed away. They put the hand out, we kind of just adjust the hand a bit, right hand, and then they put a bowl down there, and you pour lustral water, sweet water, fragrant water. So each of us come, we just pour a bit, It's our way. You see, when you pour water, that is a gesture of giving. It's called dakino daka, the water of dedication. When you pour water, transfer of merit, so dedication of merit, that kind of action. So we pour the water, saying our personal gesture of saying goodbye to this someone we knew and cared for. And it's a very moving, very wonderful ritual. And this will give you closure. That's why you don't see the Thais howling and crying and saying don't go and all these things. They accept death as a Buddhist reality. So you pour this water and everything's done solemnly, respectfully, or sometimes even joyfully, Because the children, they're so used to it, and they're not afraid of death. They know, okay, grandpa is dead, fine, he's going to Nirvana or something like that. And they pour the water. Then once everything is finished, then they put back the hand, and then they prepare for entombment. I don't know whether they place any significance on embalming or not. And they definitely seal the coffin, and then they will keep it in one of those mortuaries in the temples. One is in the temple is very big because part of it is a mortuary. I used to live in section 12 in Watsakhet, where Chandram was staying. At the back of my quarters actually is a mortuary. All those sarcophaguses, sarcophagi. So each little, like you see in the movies, those morgues, you have little doors, square little door, and they just push the coffin in. And at certain days, when the days are fixed, 100 days later, they will take out the coffin and then that's the big day. Cremation. That's the one they will announce. And then 3 months, they got time to prepare some nice books, Maybe for one funeral, it would be very nice to prepare some free copies of Sutta Discovery. And people come and you just put the paper flower on the coffin. And the coffin will be in the crematorium. And then after you put the flower there on the other side, the relative will pass a book to you and say, thank you for coming. And when everything is done, then they close the crematorium door, and then the monks will chant and the fire will burn. It's very moving, very beautiful ceremony. And suddenly the music they play is this gamelan music, it sounds like the Indonesian music. And there are different variations of this music, and they all know the tone. To me, it's just all gamelan, But my monk brother tells me, oh no, that one means the monks start chanting. This one means the monk go away. This one means the dead man come in. so there are all these cues, So it's amazing. This is culture. Right? So all this takes time for us to learn. And this music is very grand, beautiful. That's how they face death. In a sense, they celebrate death. And if it is in the kampong or even in the city, they will rent this big space. And they'll put up a public screen, big screen. They'll screen all those favorite movies that the poor never have a chance to watch. So all night they will screen shows. And that's how they keep watch, take care of the dead body. No mahjong playing, they watch his movies, and everyone is happy. So that's the Thai Buddhist. I don't know how they do it in Myanmar and Sri Lanka, but also in Thailand. And I've seen it for myself.
Among the blacks, there's this culture, especially among tribes in Africa. When somebody dies, they sing. Dance.
Yes.
When Nelson Mandela went back a few days ago, everybody was dancing and singing.
Yeah.
So I think the reason is that he's going to a happier place, and it is a cause for celebration rather than for mourning.
Well, in fact, singing is a kind of offering. You see, of course, we tend to think, oh, singing is just joy and fun. But singing can be sacred. It can even be sad. But here, of course, it's a way of honoring this great man who has passed away. That's called culture. Right? So we have to somehow start this kind of practice to make our lives here meaningful. Culture takes hundreds of years to grow. So we got to start by knowing the suttas well, the teachings well, and practice it. And slowly you get these ideas coming in.
But what I wanted to ask you is there anything in the Buddha talk that covers this?
This is very interesting because
celebrating and celebrating.
I would say there is, but the spirit of it is important to understand. Buddhist teaching is for the living. You live well, then you die well. Naturally, that will happen, right? Some religion, they live miserably, but after that, they talk a lot of things about it, which is not very helpful. For example, look at how the Buddha died, The Buddha was passing away. Ananda was very concerned. Ananda was worried how we're going to, pay respect to this great man. But the Buddha just refused to say anything about that. Ananda had to persist and insist, and he says, please tell us, what do we do? How do we perform your last rites? And the Buddha says, why do you want to do all this? This is not important, What you should be doing is your practice. Make sure you attain awakening. That's what you should be doing as monks. The next thing the Buddha says in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta is very significant. He says, there are wise laymen in this area. They will know what to do with my body. In other words, the Buddha is saying his funeral should be performed by laymen, not by monks. And indeed, the lay people perform it for him, the malas of that area. And so here it's very significant. You find the monks are not priests, they are not ritualists. This is done by a layman. So laymen have a role there. And of course, they're very cultured people. They have the Mahaparinibbana Sutta describe how they perform the last rites. Very interesting. Carrying the body around the city, things like that. So the purpose of the monks was to practice. In fact, the Buddha was very insistent on this. At one point, there was a story where the Buddha was lying there, and these beautiful flowers started raining down from the heavens. Now, whether this really happened or not is not the point, but the spirit of the story is very important. All these flowers fell down, and it went up to knee high. Can you imagine so much flowers? And then there was this beautiful music being played. First example of pipe music now used in the shopping centers. Heavenly music can be heard. And then fragrant sandalwood dust. Everything, all the senses. Very, very sweet experience of the senses were there. And then Ananda was there. The Buddha says, Ananda, you see all these things, flowers falling and all these fantastic phenomena. The Devas are honoring the Tathagata. Then he tells Ananda, this is not the way you should honor me. This is not the supreme worship. He was talking about the supreme worship, Parama Puja. He said, your supreme worship is to practice the Dharma. You can pride in yourself today that we are honoring the Buddha with the supreme worship by studying his suttas. Or better than that is to do meditation. You close your eyes and you meditate. Your posture is like the Buddha. You are honoring him. Right? The Buddha didn't even say giving Dhamma talks, He said you meditate, you just do. Anyone can do this highest puja. That's your real puja. No need all this grand chanting and so on. That's the real way. Because when you do that, then you become awakened. That's what the Buddha wants you to do. So he says that's Parama Puja, the highest worship. So you find in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta all these instructions, no rituals. Let the layman do it. Right? Okay, having said that, as I said, you can learn from the various traditions of Southeast Asia. Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand. I've been to Thailand, so I've been telling about how the Thais practice. The Buddha left it generally open, if you like, because these are cultural things. So he doesn't want to make us Indians. You know, you find we don't have Indians here, right? Because the teaching is becoming global, universal even. So you can adjust it according to your culture. Use the wealth and beauty your culture has to offer. And by the same token, the Buddhist practice also enriches the culture, as it happens in Thailand. You know? So you can see, even in Thailand, you see all those revolutions going on. You know, now everything is cooling down, I hope. You find one thing, there is minimal bloodshed. This is the irony of it, you know. They seem to celebrate, you know, because the Thais love celebration. So the moment they know my neighbors are going for a walkabout, I'm going to join too, you know, it's fun, you know. Have we a government to topple that? Do it, you know. So this is the tradition. That's why do they do it? They always say prapeni. Prapeni means custom, tradition. So, and you find that they're not afraid, you know, they're not afraid whatever happens to them because they trust their countrymen. And they will voice themselves openly. Now, I'm not saying it's something good, but there's of course economic cost, you know. But definitely you have to admire and envy these people the way they do it, you know. Right? So that's Thai culture. You don't see this in Myanmar. Myanmar, things can get violent. You don't see this in Sri Lanka. Things can get very violent too. But something in Thailand is very different from the rest of the world. They are the only country that managed to keep away the foreigners. That's a very good diplomacy. So obviously you have something to learn there. Yes?
So I mentioned the D1 on the two parts of the body. Is it the brain is not part of it?
No. Yeah. The tradition is called 31. The brain is not at the team. You can look at the page, this 130. True. Because in the Buddha's time, the brain doesn't play any big role for some reason. For many reasons, in fact. For example, even consciousness is not located anywhere, definitely not in the brain. But later on, with modern science, they start locating consciousness in the brain. Even that is controversial. Now, apparently it is Buddhaghosa, one of the later teachers, added in this missing element or missing body part. Let me give you my take on this. Now, first of all, look at page 130 right at the top, number 4. You have large intestines, small intestines, stomach contents. Notice it doesn't say stomach, it says stomach contents, because this is meant for reflection, not anatomy study. The last one is feces, not a very pleasant thing, right? Now, so the Indians would name the set by the last item. Now look at the first one. The first one is called the skin 5. Head has, body has, nail, teeth, skin. There are 5 items. So you look at the last item, it's called skin, so you call it the skin 5. You start with the last item, not the first one. Okay? The skin pentet, Tacha Panchaka. So it is called Tacha Panchaka Kavatthana. Kavatthana is another word for meditation. Okay? Tacha means skin. From Tacha you get the word touch, right? Panchaka means number 5. Meditation with the skin as the 5th. Whereas here, traditionally you would say 1, 2, 3, 4. The down 4 doesn't sound very dignified. So the later Buddhist commentators say, number 1 is too short, 4. Why don't we add 1 more, make it 5? And moreover, let's make it more dignified. You know, you've got the brain 5, it sounds better. Then there's something about numerology. 31 is not a very good number. Why? Because 31 planes of suffering, of samsara. And nirvana is number 32. So 32 is a kind of good number in this sense, okay? Buddhist numerology. So now you put in brain, you've got 32 parts of the body. So it's up to you, you know. I'm quite happy with 31, since the Buddha put it that way, why not, you know. But I've just put in the note there, but that's what happened later on. So notice here again, the suttas will be added on rather than minus. So the added on will be much later. In fact, there is an older set of teachings, you know. You find, I think there are 6 items. I don't know if you can find that in the footnotes. Instead of 9, there are only 6. Anyone can find that in the footnotes. Page 132. Page 132. Cattaro Padana Sutta in the Digha Nikaya as well as Anguttara lists only 6 stages of decomposition. Can you see the note 57 on page 132? You go to page 132, look at footnote number 57 at the bottom of the page. CF means confirm, that means you see or compare. Cattaro Padana Sutta, and then go on, you read the quote, here bhikshus among guards the auspicious sign of samadhi when it has arisen. That is to say, the perception of a skeleton. Right, so here the person visualizes a skeleton and reflects on it. The perception of a worm-infested corpse, second stage. Third stage is discolored corpse. Fourth, festering corpse, rotting corpse. And next one is a fissured or broken corpse. The skin or body is broken. And then the last one is a bloated corpse. So this is a shorter list. So obviously this is the older list. But the longer list became better known. So this is something we can note. Okay? The shorter one is the older one. Right? So you see this kind of development in the sutras. And it's interesting to know these things. Yeah.
Body to decompose.
Any people who knows that well here? I suppose after a few days, you know, if you leave it like that, it will start rotting up already, especially if there are insects and bugs. And if there are animals around, the body will drop even faster, eaten up. You know. So I would say within 4 or 5 days, it should start rotting already.
Depends on how hot
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, if it's very cold, then the body.
The dry desert, the dry desert, the Taklamakan desert, that is very low humidity, very hot. It preserves for a very long time without
sometimes hundreds of years. Huh?
Yes, without any embalming because it is.
Any other questions?
Yes, page 26.
26.
Yeah, derived forms, 25 kinds of derived forms. I'm not sure what this means.
Okay. Page 26. First of all, you've got the 4 elements. The 4 elements are called primary elements. Earth, water, fire, wind. These are the basic elements. Then from these 4 basic, there are the subsidiary ones. Derived means subsidiary. That means they come from these 4 elements. Or they're connected with one or more of the elements.
Oh, derived from one.
Correct, yeah. So, in the Buddhist teachings, femininity, masculinity are regarded as physical elements, okay? And but not all the time, you know. Although here this is Abhidhamma, they regard masculinity and femininity as physical. But in the Samyoga Sutta, you have this idea of femininity and masculinity as psychological states. So both ideas are there in Buddhism. So if you study psychology, this will be of special interest to you. And then you have the physical base of the mind. Okay, this is definitely Abhidhamma. It's not found in the Sutta. Because the Sutta never mentioned, the Buddha never mentioned the physical base of the mind. Physical base of seeing is the eye. Physical base of hearing is the ear, and so on. All the 5 senses, those are the basis for sense experience. But thinking, no basis. The Buddha didn't locate it anywhere. So the Abhidhamma people, they were trying to make Buddhism sort of proto-scientific, you know. They want to, they say, well, since all these 5 senses are located there somewhere, the source of the 5 senses, but the mind, where is the basis? Well, obviously there's no basis, you know. The Buddha that's why the Buddha didn't mention it. But somehow they want to, like upgrade Buddhism. So they decided to follow popular belief, the advanced thinking of those days. They locate it in the heart, center of the heart to be exact, right? So it's called Hridaya, Hridaya in Sanskrit, Hridaya, yeah? The heart. So heart-based. Of course, today when we say heart, we don't physically mean the heart. We mean something like the core, the essential idea of that kind of notion. Yeah? So the physical base of the mind, that is the Hridaya Vattu, that means the solid heart, material heart. Bodily intimation, body language. Bodily language is regarded as physical thing. Verbal intimation, even speech is regarded as physical, because speech happens at my throat, you see, right? Wind, the wind sliding over bones and skin and teeth, right? So these are physical events. But to be able to list all these things is amazing. It shows that these minds, they're very clear and sharp, and very profound. And then, of course, physical life itself, our life, giving us physical form in the sense world. And then the space element, they regard as, interestingly, as derived from matter. Physical agility, the fact that we can, exert ourselves. Physical elasticity, kind of, ability to bend ourselves and do a little bit more than just physical stuff. Adaptability, we can maybe, for example, in terms of climate, physical growth, changing, and then physical continuity. So this body is a way of it's growing, and changing. And finally, food. The food we take that becomes us. So these are regarded as derived elements, upadaya, rupa. There are 25 kinds. You study this in the Abhidhamma. I noticed there are a couple of free books there. This Bhikkhu Bodhi dictated this book with some other monks on the Abhidhammata Sangaha. There are only 2 volumes there, so first come, first served. Free. They release it again, so help yourself. And most of you would have it. It's just check. It's quite a thick book, It's a compendium something. What is that? Compendium of Buddhist psychology or something like that. You know which one is it?
Yes.
You just bring it here and show it to them. Any other question? Well, a few more minutes. Oh, one left only. Okay, you can just show it to them. Pass it around.
So you were saying the body from the body into your body.
When you do this meditation, you first reflect it internally, inside your own body. For example, you see a dead body, you say, well, this body one day become like that body. And then you reflect externally, you say, that body at one time was just like me. So internally, externally. Or when you're doing meditation, you watch your breath. And your breath becomes very peaceful, but the person next to you is breathing very heavily or even snoring, falling asleep. So you switch your meditation, as you reflect on the sound, or you focus on the breathing of this person, externally, internally, externally. Okay? Sometimes you go back and forth, alternately, mindfully. So in other words, there are many ways of adjusting your meditation to make it interesting. So, yes?
So, is it stream of personality or Vinisara? Are there 2 of them?
I remember it was Vinisara. Maybe we just check. Marika. We will just check. Sometimes the details are lost to us. That means it's not Malika, it's Asenadi. Who's that queen, Bimbisara's queen? I didn't know the Bimbisara's queen anyway. We will check it out. Any other questions?
becomes and summarized into 4. The 9 becomes.
No, the 9 is the most common least. The shorter one is 6. The 6 is listed on page 132 at the bottom. Can you see note 57? 6 are given there. Okay? You got to number. What you can do, take your pen or pencil, you number, circle the number 1 to 6. Okay, they're all given there. Okay, number 1 is a skeleton. Actually, it goes backwards, you know, this one. The 6, it starts on the skeleton first, and then goes, the last one is the bloated one. Whereas the 9, they start with the bloated body first, and they go to skeleton. Okay, so the 6 is probably the older one, whereas the 9 is the later one, but more popular. Okay. So the 9 one is the natural sequence. The 6 one is the, what you call the older sequence. You start with the skeleton first. Okay. Okay, so no more questions, huh? Alright, let's end here for today. So this next lesson we're going to feelings, right? So I've marked my little paper here on feelings. Let us close this study. Today, if you remember, I said that the Buddha declared in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the highest worship is to practice the Buddha's teaching. So this means Buddhism is very simple, very practical. We should take care of ourselves first, calm ourselves, prepare ourselves for wisdom so that we are happy and wise. In doing so, then we are more useful to others. We are better prepared, more qualified, more effective in helping others. This is the Buddha's teaching of wisdom and compassion. Reflecting in this way is very good mental karma. With the power of this karma and many other good karma we have been doing, our faith in the three jewels, our practice of meditation, keeping the precepts, practicing charity and kindness and so on. With the power of all these good deeds, may we attain spiritual liberation, especially stream winning in this life itself. In this moment of peace, let us send out our loving kindness to all the beings here. May they all be well and happy that this place also may be a peaceful center of learning and kindness. May all those who work here be well and happy. May those who come here be well and happy too. Let us send our loving kindness to our loved ones, relatives and friends. And also to all those untouched by the Dharma, that they may see the Dharma for themselves and be happy and kind people. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.